Hi everyone, hope you're all okay. A slightly different angle for this week's video. I've been having a bit of a nightmare with the lighting, as you can probably see as I'm recording this. So I've made do the best I can. Hopefully it looks okay and you can see everything you need to see. The practice I'm offering this week is a practice to kind of boost our energy, get rid of any inertia in the system and give us a bit of get up and go. It's quite a dynamic practice that I've got prepared. So there's a lot of standing work, a lot of transitioning from one pose to the next. So as with all the practices that we do, if anything doesn't feel appropriate, feel free to modify and adapt to a way that it does feel appropriate, or feel free to rest or sit out any parts, that's absolutely fine. In terms of equipment, nothing special, just the mat, or make sure you're working on an on-slip surface, so you're going to be safe. And that's everything. So we'll make a start. So we're going to start from standing. So if we come onto our mat or whatever surface we're working on, we're going to bring the feet to hip distance or slightly wider. And just spending a bit of time allowing the soles of the feet to explore the surface that they're working on. So I really like to do this, to wake the feet up, let the soles of the feet be nice and receptive, and setting the foundation for our practice, which, like I said, is going to be a lot of standing work. And then eventually letting that exploration fizzle out and letting the feet settle, allowing the legs to settle but keeping the knees soft and letting the pelvis rest. And usually when we can find this support in the lower body, the upper body tends to find its place a lot easier. So you might get a sense that the arms can drape at the sides of the body, the chest might even open a bit more, and the crown of the head is lifted up towards the ceiling. We're just going to do a little bit of work to check in with the breath. So you can either leave the hands at the sides of the body, but I quite like to feel the breath moving in my body. So you can either bring both hands onto the lower belly, or it's quite nice to bring one hand onto the chest and the other hand onto the lower belly. So find a way that's going to suit you. And you can soften and close the eyes if you wish, or you can work with them open. I'm gonna let mine close today. And we're simply going to feel the movement of the breath beneath the palms of the hands. Feeling how the structure of the body presses into the hands, maybe as we inhale, and falls away from the hands, maybe as we exhale. And of course, it's the breath that's kind of the instigator of that movement in the structure. So we're feeling here how the breath can move the body. And you might even get a sense of the breath moving in other areas of the body, maybe that the hands aren't touching. So there might be a sense as we inhale, we may be able to lengthen into the soles of the feet a little more. Crown of the head might lift. And as we exhale, we might draw back a little. And eventually letting that go, letting the arms come back down to the sides of the body, maybe opening the eyes here if you're working with the eyes closed. I'm going to do a little bit of a breathing practice here. So I'm going to do some tree of light breathing. So letting the fingertips gently touch in the front of the body. And what we want to do here is we inhale and the ribs expand. We're going to use that expansion of the ribs to help support the lift of the arms. So as we inhale, We're going to draw the arms wide and up over the head. Yeah, you're going to lose my arms, but you know what they're doing. And then drawing the hands back down through the midline. Inhaling, drawing the arms up over the head, letting the fingertips meet again, and drawing the hands back down through the centre. So let's go 2 more times. And then we're going to reverse that movement. So this time as we inhale, we're going to bring the fingertips up through the midline. And as we exhale, we're going to let the arms come wide. So let's go a few times with that variation. And then letting go of that, feel the effect of that. And then we're going to do one more thing to kind of releasing the shoulders here. So I'm going to show you from the side. So what we're going to do, we're going to step 1 foot back behind us. It doesn't need to be a huge step. So stepping 1 foot back, and the leg that you step back, that hand we can let rest on the lower back. And then we're going to let this front knee bend, and we're going to lean over this front leg, and we're going to let that arm simply go to gravity. And the arm might do some interesting things. It might kind of sway back and forth. Sometimes my arm makes a little kind of circular movement, or sometimes it just comes to a still place. But it can have quite a deep effect on the breath. And then coming up from there. Before we do the other side, let's compare the two. So the arm that you've just worked with might feel very different. It might sit differently on the body. You might even be able to see that in my body here. And then let's go with the opposite side. So I'm going to turn the opposite way. So you're going to step the opposite foot back, and then the leg that you've stepped back, that arm's going to rest on the lower back. We're going to bend the front knee, and then again, giving that arm up to gravity as we come to lean forwards over that leg. And notice any kind of differences in the two sides. So one arm might be a lot easier to kind of give away to gravity. One might want to hold on to that control a little more. You might even want to let some exhalations out through the mouth. You might want to give the arm a little bit of a shake and release. And then coming back up from there. And again, placing the arms at the sides of the body and feeling the impact of that. So we're going to work through some salutations. So each round we'll do about 4 rounds. And each round I'm going to add in a different element. So if you know that there's a certain point you're like, yeah, I don't want to do plank maybe, or I don't want to do downward dog, you can pause at that stage. That's absolutely fine. The 4th round we are going to do a little bit of a back bend, but I think I mentioned this a few videos ago. I'm a bit kind of wary about coming right up into upward dogs because sort of lower backs might be a little bit compromised at the moment, just the way things are. So I'm going to show you a variation again, which I think we did a couple of videos ago. So coming towards the front of your mat, bringing the feet hip distance or slightly wider, letting the knees soften, and bringing the hands into prayer position in the front of the chest. And then we're going to give a little bow to the earth, and we're going to float the arms up over the head. We're going to bring the arms wide, we're going to bend the knees, but what we're going to do, we're going to bring the hands onto the thighs for now. So I've been working with forward bend slightly differently the last few weeks. So what I want us to do here is think about lengthening through the tail, lengthening through the crown of the head, and really encouraging our shoulder blades to draw and slide down our back. So the neck's long, reaching out through the tail, out through the crown of the head. And then we can bend the knees even more, let the heels lift, use the fingertips as supporters here. And we're going to step the left foot back behind us. So we're coming into our high lunge here. So you can pause here, and if you want to pause in your high lunge, it's quite nice to play with this little movement, finding the connection between the back foot and the front foot. If you want to, you can lower this back knee and untuck the toes, letting the weight pour into the support of the feet, bringing ourselves up from there, and either bringing the hands onto the thigh or drawing the arms up over the head. Few breaths here. Bringing the hands back down towards the mat. Tucking the toes under, lifting the back knee. So you might already be here if you're in your high lunge. We're going to lean into the back foot and we're going to step forwards, coming up from there. So then opposite side, so bringing the hands back to prayer position. A little bow to the air, floating the arms up. Bringing the arms wide, bending the knees, and again we're going to bring the hands to rest on the thighs. Lengthening through the tail, lengthening out through the crown of the head, and encouraging the shoulder blades to rest and draw down the back. And I find it really helps to kind of draw my elbows in towards me as I'm doing that. If I have my elbows wide, it's a bit more difficult for me to find that movement and that connection into the shoulder blades. Bend the knees even more, let the heels lift. Let the fingertips support you, stepping the right foot back this time. So again, you can either stay in your high lunge, have a little play with this movement to find the connection between the front and back foot, or you can lower the knee, untuck the toes, using the support of the feet, bringing yourself up from there. So either bring your hand onto the thigh or up over the head. Gain a few breaths here. Bringing the hands back down towards the mat, tucking the toes under on the back leg, lifting the knee, leaning into the back foot to step forwards, coming up from there. And pause there for a moment, feeling the effect of that. So this time we're going to add in a downward dog to our sun salutation. So you can leave this out, you can just stay at lunge, or you can add in the downward dog. So bringing the hands to prayer position. Little bow to the earth, floating the arms up. Bringing the arms wide, bending the knees, we're going to bring the hands onto the thighs again. So coming into this really dynamic forward bend here. So we're reaching out with the tail, out through the crown of the head, allowing the shoulder blades to draw down the back. If it helps, using that imagery of the turtle poking his head out of his shell. So we don't want him in the shell, we want him to have a little peek outside. Ooh. Bend the knees even more, lift the heels, use fingertips to support you. I'm going to step the left foot back. Stay in your high lunge if you want to, or you can lower the back knee, untuck the toes and come up whatever's appropriate for you with the arms and the hands. Bringing the hands back down towards the mat. So we're going to add in downward dog here. So we're going to tuck the toes under on the back leg, lift the knee, Using the hands to support us, we're going to step this front foot back into our downward dog. Ooh. You can take your dog for a walk. You can let him wag his tail. You can make it more of a still dog. And then stepping the left foot either halfway or all the way to the front of your mat, leaning into the back foot to step forwards, coming up from there. Opposite side, so bringing the hands to prayer position. A little bow to the earth, let's float the arms up. Bringing the arms wide, bending the knees, bringing the hands onto the thighs, and let's find that dynamic forward bend. Might call it turtle. The turtle. Whew. Bend the knees even more, lift the heels. Let the fingertips support you. We can step now with the right foot. Staying in your high lunge or lowering the knee. And untucking the toes. And bringing the arms where it's appropriate for you. Bringing the hands down towards the mat. Tucking the toes under on the back foot, lifting the knee, and then stepping back into your downward dog. Finding the support of your breath here as well. Yeah, as I inhale, it's like I'm shifted forward slightly, and as I exhale, I can rest back. And then stepping either halfway or all the way to the front of your mat with your right foot, leaning into the back foot to step forwards. Coming up from there. So that's 2 rounds. Got 2 more rounds to go, but if you want to rest at any point, that's fine. If you want to miss out, we're going to add in plank now. So you might want to miss out that part of the sun salutation. That's absolutely fine. So adapt it as you need to. So coming back to prayer position. A little bow to the earth. Let's float the arms up. Bring the arms wide. Let's bend the knees. Bringing the hands onto the thighs. So we're going to find our forward bend here. Bend the knees even more, lift the heels, use the fingertips to support you. We're going to step back with the left foot, either staying in your high lunge or lowering the knee and untucking the toes and coming up from there in a way that's appropriate for you. Bringing the hands down, tucking the toes under on the back leg, lift the knee. You're going to step this front foot back. So we're in our downward dog here, making any variations you want to make in your dog. And then let's bring it forwards into plank if you want to. Reaching back into the heels, lengthening into the arms and hands. Coming back to your downward dog and then stepping either halfway or all the way with the left foot, leaning into the back foot to step forwards. Coming up from there. Opposite side, so again a little bow to the earth. Floating the arms up. Bringing the arms wide, bend the knees, bringing the hands onto the thigh. Finding our forward bend here. Bending the knees even more, lifting the heels, going into our crouch. Using the fingertips to support, we're going to step the right foot back. Either staying in a high lunge or lowering the back knee and untucking the toes and then coming up in a way that's appropriate for you. Bringing the hands down, tucking the toes under on the back leg, lifting the knee, stepping back to your downward dog. Coming forwards into your plank if you wish to, reaching back into the heels, lengthening into the arms and hands. Coming back to your downward dog, and then stepping the right foot either halfway or all the way to the front of your mat, leaning into the back foot to step forwards. Coming up from there. Whew. So again, we're going to do one more round. I'm going to add in a little cobra pose here. You can skip it if you want to. You can pause at any point, or you can simply rest down in child pose if you prefer. That's absolutely fine if you want to do that. So coming back to prayer position, softening the knees, finding the feet. Little bow to the earth. Let's float the arms up. Bring the arms wide. Let any exhalations come out that you want through the mouth as well, making any sounds. It all helps. Bringing the hands onto the thighs. Let's find our dynamic forward bend here. You can even add a few who breaths if you remember them. Lifting the heels, bending the knees, bringing the fingertips to support. Let's step the left foot back. Lowering the back knee and untucking the toes if you're not staying in your high lunge, and coming up from there. Lowering the hands, tucking the toes under on the back leg, lifting the knee, and we're going to step back to our downward dog. Coming forwards into our plank. Back to our downward dog. So this is where we're going to add in our little cobra pose. So we're going to lower the knees gently, keep the toes tucked under. We're going to use the feet to have a little push, a little slide forwards, coming onto the forearms. Let the legs be nice and active. It's imagining that we're thinking of the elbows drawing or sliding back as the chest comes forwards. Keeping the legs active. Let the elbows come wide, bring the forehead down. Use the hands either side of you to support you, tuck your toes under. We're going to lift our bottom back towards our heels. We're going to lift up into downward dog, and then we're going to step the left foot either halfway or all the way to the front of the mat, lean into the back foot to step forward. Coming up from there. Last half a round to go. So bringing the hands to prayer position. A little bow to the earth. Let's float the arms up. Bring the arms wide, bend the knees. Let's come into our dynamic forward bend here. Ooh. Bend the knees even more, lift the heels. We're going to step back with the right foot, either staying in our high lunge or we're bringing the knee down as we untuck the toes, and bringing the arms up over the head, if that feels appropriate. Getting a few breaths here, bringing the hands down. Tuck the toes under on the back foot, lifting the knee, stepping this front foot back into our downward dog. Letting the weight come forwards into our plank. Coming back to our downward dog. Lowering the knees gently. Bringing the bottom back towards the heels. Keep the toes tucked under. And a little push from the feet. We're going to slide forwards onto the forearms. So we release the legs, let the legs stay nice and active. And imagine that the elbows are lengthening back behind us as the chest comes through the tops of the arms. Let the elbows come wide, bring the forehead down, hands under the shoulders, supporters, tucking the toes under, lifting the bottom back towards the heels, coming back to our downward dog, and then stepping the right foot either halfway or all the way to the front of the mat, leaning into the back foot to step forwards, coming up from there. Letting the arms come to rest at the sides of the body, just taking a few breaths here after your sun salutations. And then we are going to stay towards the front of our mat. And we're going to step, let's step the right foot back. Stepping the right foot back. So you can see what I'm doing here. So stepping the right foot back. And then from here, we're going to make this little rocking movement back and forth. Yeah, so we're all quite familiar with this. What's quite nice to do, something I've been working with recently, is to make this quite a dynamic movement. So as my arms sway up, I inhale, and then I let my exhalation kind of fly out as my arms swing back. And then next time the arms sway up, you inhale, I let my exhalation come out a bit slower, softer, as that back heel lowers down towards the floor. So I'll show you that again. And then I let my arms come to rest on my lower back. Well, what is quite nice actually, again, something else I've been playing with, if you kind of take hold of the hand and reach back, not so much interlocking the fingers, but just taking a hold and reaching back. That's quite nice as well to help the shoulder blades draw down the back. So you might want to play with that variation. And then we're imagining that we've got a piece of string coming out through the crown of our head, out through the tail, and we're going to begin to lengthen. Minding that we're not locking into that front knee, and we're going to lengthen forwards. Whew. So thinking less about coming down, more about lengthening, 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 and keeping that connection into the back leg. And then stepping the back leg forward. So opposite sides, so I'll come to this end of the mat so you can see that back leg clearer. So stepping the opposite leg back now. So I think we're stepping the left foot back now. And then again, we're going to find that movement. And if you want to add in the breath work, feel free. If it doesn't feel good, leave it out. And then again, taking a hold at the back with the hands, not locking into this front knee, but we're going to begin to lengthen, 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 lengthen. Ooh. And then coming up from there, stepping the back foot forwards. Pause for a few breaths there. Very hot in my living room at the moment, okay. So from here, we're going to step wide with our feet. So we're going to move from triangle pose, Trikonasana, to warrior two pose. I'm just going to transition a little bit in and out of those, and we might add in a little bit of floor work as well while we're there. So let's turn the right toes in and the left toes out. So I'm not mirroring you here because I don't want to get myself confused. So yeah, I'll be going the opposite way to you, but don't panic. So coming into triangle pose. So just checking on this front knee. So bend the knee. We are going to do it with the straight leg, but bend the knee to begin with, just to check where it's tracking. So you want that knee to be tracking towards the second and third toes. But then keeping that tracking, we're going to begin to straighten the leg, but without locking back into the knee. Yeah, difference between this and this, yeah. So we still want that knee tracking because it's still possible, yeah, even with the leg straight for the knee to kind of be tracking elsewhere. So we want to keep that tracking of the knee here. We're going to turn the pelvis to look over the left leg as much as we can. And then we're going to bring this hand, the left hand, to rest somewhere on the leg. So it might be towards the top of the knee, the shin, it might be towards the ankle, it might even be on the floor. Coming to find a place that's comfortable and appropriate for you, keeping this connection into the back leg. And then with this spare hand, we're going to trace across the front of the chest and up towards the ceiling. So this is where we're going to take it into warrior two pose. So what we're going to do, we're going to let this front knee bend as we keep the connection to this back leg. So keeping the connection to the back leg, we're going to let this front knee bend, and we're going to bring the arms out in line with the shoulders. I'm going to turn the gaze to look out and beyond the left hand. And then we might want to take it back to our triangle by straightening the front leg, bringing that hand wherever's appropriate, keeping that connection to the back foot, and then coming back to bend that knee to our warrior two. Oh. We're going to stay on this side. We're going to draw the arms up over the head. We're going to pivot on this back foot. So we're in a bit of a high lunge here. We're going to let that back knee come down towards the ground. And we're going to bring the fingertips to support us on the floor here. Untuck the toes. And we're going to step this left foot back. So we're coming onto all fours. So we're going to do a little bit of work on all fours here before we do the opposite side. So in all fours, all we're going to simply do here is bring ourselves to come into this circular movement that we're all really familiar with now. It's nice to kind of to bring these movements into quite a sort of a dynamic practice like this, because I tend to find in yoga dynamic practices are very forward, back, and there's not a lot of sort of side lateral movements, so I like to add them in for my spine. Let's change the direction. And then we're going to bring this into a downward dog. So tucking the toes under, bringing the hands forward to the shoulders here, lifting the knees up off the ground, up and back into our downward dog. We're going to step the left foot forwards. We're going to lean into the back leg to step that one forwards, coming up from there. We're going to come to step wide on our mat again. And we're going to come to the opposite side now. So stepping wide on our mat, this time we're going to turn the left toes in and the right toes out. So remember, we're going to come to triangle and warrior two pose. So turning the pelvis as much as we can to look over this right leg without locking the right knee. But you might want to just check on your tracking by bending the knee, see where it's heading. So second and third toes. and then straightening that leg without locking the leg. And then with the right hand, finding whatever's appropriate to place it on this second side. And then this spear hand, we're going to trace across the front of the chest and open out into our triangle pose, keeping that connection to the back foot. And then we're going to make the transition to our warrior two. So we're going to let this front knee bend, keeping that connection in the back foot. And we're going to bring the arms out in line with the shoulders. Turn and tuck out and beyond the right hand here. Now let's come back to our triangle. Coming back to our warrior two. Drawing the arms up over the head, pivoting on this back foot, and letting that knee come down towards the mat, untucking the toes, using the fingertips to support us here, and then coming back to all fours. So we're going to make a figure eight movement now. So let's let the inner legs and feet come together and bringing the hands slightly forwards of the shoulders. And now we're going to draw our figure eight. And then maybe changing the direction of your figure eight. And then we're going to come up into our downward dog again. So separating the knees back to hip distance, tucking the toes under. The hands are already forwards here, so we don't need to worry too much about that. Letting the bottom come back towards the heels, and we're going to lift up and back into our downward dog. This time we're going to step the right foot either halfway or all the way to the front of the mat, leaning into the back foot to step forwards and coming up from there. So we're going to come to step wide again. So stepping wide again on our mat. And we're going to play with Prasarita here. So it's a wide leg forward bend. And we're going to take this, I think we'll take it into a lunge, maybe downward dog as well. We'll see, we'll see when we get there. So lengthening down into the soles of the feet, letting the knees soften, letting the pelvis rest. So similar to when we were doing the forward bend in our sun salutation, I want to do a similar thing here with the shoulder blades. So I'm going to encourage my knees to bend even more. I'm going to let my tailbone lengthen back, let the hips rest back. I'm going to think of lengthening out through the crown of my head. And if I bring my hands onto my thighs, I can again make this movement into my shoulder blade area. So I'm really lengthening into the whole of my spine here. Again, letting any exhalations, any sounds out through the mouth. So we're going to go on a little journey. So if you can, bring in the fingertips towards the floor and bend the knees as much as you need to accommodate that. So let the fingertips come towards the floor. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a little journey over towards the left. Now the back leg is going to need to move to accommodate that journey, so allow that to happen. And can you see I've just pivoted on that back foot, so I'll show you that again. So I've gone on a little journey over to the left, my feet are accommodating that. And then I find myself in a high lunge here. And we're going to stay in high lunge for this, yeah? So we're going to play with this connection between the front foot and the back foot. The front foot and the back foot. And then I'm going to take it around to the other side. And again, play with this connection between the front foot and the back foot. Let's come back to centre. And then let's go back to the first side. Actually, I know where we'll take this. So come into our high lunge, back on this first side. And then what we're going to do, this back foot, I'm going to let the heel turn in so the foot can come back down onto the floor. Yeah, you see what I've done there? Let the heel turn in. I'm going to use the support of my legs to bring the forearm onto the thigh. So I'm coming into side angle pose here, Parsvakonasana. I'm going to draw this top arm up and over in line with the back leg, keeping that connection in the back leg. If that doesn't feel comfortable, come back to your high lunge, yeah? Or come to rest down in child pose. We're just having a little play, a little explore here. And then let's bring the hands back down, coming back to our high lunge. And then let's take that journey to the opposite side. Again, having a little play, back and forth, between this front leg and back leg. And then the back leg, I'm going to let the heel turn in so I can place that foot on the floor to support me. Using the support of the feet, I'm going to bring the forearm onto my thigh. I'm going to reach up with this top arm and over in line with the back leg. A few breaths in. Again, you can come to child pose, come back to your high lunge. And then let go of that top arm. Let's come back to our high lunge. And then let's come back to centre. Let's bring the hands back onto the thighs again. And let's let the shoulder blades slide down the back. And then nice and slowly, take this slow, coming back up. Just standing from there, you might want to wiggle the feet back to hip distance. So we're going to do one more thing from standing. Again, you can leave this out. Yeah, like I said, it's quite a dynamic practice. We're going to do one more thing from standing here, and then we're going to come to rest down. So I'm going to come back to a forward bend. I'll do this from the side actually. So I'm going to add in this little rocking back and forth motion here, but this time with the hip distance, not with one leg back. So I'm going to rock back and forth, coming onto the heels as I rock forwards. Coming onto the balls of the feet as I rock forwards, coming onto the heels as I rock back. And we can add in that breath movement again as well. So next time we bring the arms up and we breathe in, let the heels come down gently as we let the breath, the exhalation come out a bit slower and softer. So I'll show you that again. I'm going to let my knees bend generously here, but I'm going to keep my arms reaching up. So I'm coming into, it's a variation of horseman's pose here, into lightning bolt pose. And bringing the hands onto the thighs, letting the shoulder blades rest down the back. Reaching back with the tail out through the crown of the head. And then if you want to, you can make that a bit more of a passive forward bend. And before we come to rest down, let's come down into child pose for a few moments here. So sitting back briefly on the heels. And you can either make it a more contained child pose with the knees together. If you prefer, you can separate the knees, keep the toes together. It's my preference actually, so whichever works for you. And then come into rest forwards. And let the arms be passive here. Yeah, let the arms drape. You might want to drape in front or drape behind you. And then when you're ready, coming back up from there. So we're going to come to rest down in Shavasana now. So getting yourself all that you need here to make yourself nice and comfortable. You're well earned Shavasana after that. So making yourself as comfortable as you possibly can be here. And you know all the variations of Shavasana now, so finding what works well for you. If you are lying on your back with your legs lengthened out along the floor, it might be useful to put something under your knees for a bit of extra support if that helps. Maybe a cushion or something under the knees, but again, doing what works for you and getting yourself set up here as comfortably as you can be. So we're going to continue our reading of the sutras. I'm really enjoying this. It's great to kind of revisit some of these texts, and I often find that, you know, it always seems to be something relevant. I went through a phase where I used to just pick up the sutras and kind of open it at a random page and read a few of the verses on a daily basis, so not kind of reading it from front to back. And I just always found it quite interesting, the things that come up in the verses. But anyway, so hopefully you're settled and rested here. So letting the eyes soften and close. And checking in with the physical self, which is probably the loudest at the moment after the practice that we've just completed. Like I say, it was quite a dynamic practice. So yeah, honouring that in the body. Being mindful of that. And checking in with the breath as well. And letting the breath settle. And even if you kind of thought, God, that really was quite a dynamic practice. I practiced this myself this morning, and I kind of, it's a bit like, it's been a while since I've practiced like that since all this has kicked off, and it really made me smile, to be honest. I was absolutely knackered, but it really made me smile. It was good. So hopefully you've had some benefit there. So letting everything settle. So we're up to verse 41. As a flawless crystal absorbs what is placed before it, so the settled mind is transparent to whatever it meets, the seer, the process of seeing, or the object seen. This is samapatti, the state of mental absorption. The first stage of absorption is when the object of attention is gross, and its name and other thoughts are mingled together in the mind. The second stage is when the memory is purified and the mind is quiet enough to be absorbed in the object of attention. In the same way, the third and fourth stages of absorption are explained. These occur when the object of attention is subtle. I'll read that again. As a flawless crystal absorbs what is placed before it, so the settled mind is transparent to whatever it meets. The seer, the process of seeing, or the object seen. This is samadhi, the state of mental absorption. The first stage of absorption is when the object of attention is gross, and its name and other thoughts are mingled together in the mind. The second stage is when the memory is purified and the mind is quiet enough to be absorbed in the object of attention. In the same way, the third and fourth stages of absorption are explained. These occur when the object of attention is subtle. So allowing yourself to rest down here fully into the support of the ground that's offered to you. And noticing how the body feels after the practice that you've completed today. You know, has it been quite a tiring practice? Do you feel a bit energised after that? Like I said, I felt tired but energised at the same time. It was a nice tiredness that I felt. It put a smile on my face. So noticing how you feel, letting the body settle. And you may even want to work with a Sankalpa, as we did in the Yoga Nidra practice in the last video. So if it helps, even here you can set yourself an intention and allow that intention to be spoken in the present tense as if it's already happening. So maybe, you know, I am well, or I have energy. So setting yourself this intention that you can take with you into the rest of your week. So we're going to begin to come out of our Shavasana shortly, but if you do want to stay here, yeah, just let yourself rest here for as long as you need to. Don't feel the need to come out, but if you do want to come out of your Shavasana now, beginning to let the fingers and toes gently move, and maybe letting the head gently rock from one side to the other. And then if you would like to, let's generate some heat in the palms of the hands by rubbing the palms together. And placing the hands over the eyes, or maybe somewhere else that the body might benefit from that heat. So using that heat to help you. And slowly and eventually letting the eyes open beneath the palms of the hands if you have them there. Maybe let the fingers separate, let some light come through the cracks of the fingers. Eventually letting the eyes completely open, bringing the hands away from the eyes. And becoming aware of the light in the room, becoming aware of sounds, sensations, smells, letting that come all back to the senses. And then let's gather the knees in towards the chest, have a little rock from side to side. Letting that momentum bring you all the way over to rest on one side of the body. And letting yourself rest here for a few moments. And eventually bringing yourself back up to a comfortable seated position from there. So we will leave that there for this week's video. I hope you found it useful. Like I said, it is quite a dynamic practice. It particularly was for me because a lot of the practices I've been doing recently have been a lot more kind of subtle movements. So to sort of get out there and make kind of big dynamic shapes was most welcome actually. And like I said, I had a big smile on my face when I was in my Shavasana. So hopefully you had a good experience with that. And hope you're all well. As always, yeah, feel free to contact me with any questions, and we will leave that there for today. Thank you very much. Bye.